Okay. We don't need to do a sound check? We're okay? Yeah. I turned it on, yeah. Oh, sorry, ma'am. I am. G'day, Scott. Nice to meet you. You said you were with Tourism Canada? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. What was your role at the NTO? Oh, okay. Hence why you're here. Right. Oh, okay. Oh, but you're obviously still engaged because you're along at this event. That's good. Oh, I know Chuck well. Okay. Where do you want me to stand? Is that okay? Okay. Very good. Looks good to me. No. No. after me, are you? Luke. Oh, okay. Okay. I think probably that's true. Sorry, who are you with?
Okay, can we get started, please? Thank you very much. I am Michael Simone. I am with RRC Associates, located in beautiful Boulder, Colorado. We're a research and consulting firm to the travel and tourism industry for nearly 35 years, with emphasis on summer and winter resort destination travel, including resorts such as Mont Tremblant, a short drive here in Quebec. I am introducing Chris Adams for the first of 3 TTRA talks this conference. Chris Adams has worldwide experience in tourism, new technology, and new media. He is the head of research and insights at Miles, a marketing agency focused 100% on travel and tourism, with over 90 city, state, and national tourism clients in North America, Asia, and the South Pacific, as well as hotel clients in both the U.S. and South Pacific. Chris spreads his time between Miles' North American operation and the South Pacific division based in Auckland, New Zealand. He has previously served as CEO of a New Zealand Convention and Visitor Bureau, worked at Newman's Tours, one of the largest inbound tour operators in the Asia Pacific, and functioned as assistant to the general manager at Sky TV in London. Chris is a co-founder and board member for the Travel Care Code, a leading not-for-profit focused on minimizing the impact of travelers. He's also on the research advisory board for the U.S. Travel Association. Please join me in welcoming Chris Adams.
Decline. Maladie. Death. Décès. This is the story that is being talked about with regards to print publications, print advertising in the travel and tourism vertical. Today, I want to explore the truths and the myths about print. And we'll discuss some of the challenges and opportunities for both practitioners and academics in this area, because frankly, it's been desperately underserved. So, good morning, everybody. As you heard, I split my time between Denver, Colorado and Auckland, New Zealand, and these issues, of course, are global and worldwide. And why do they matter? Well, the role and relevance of print really goes to the heart of one of the sort of key engines that have driven destination marketing organizations and their engagement with the industry over many decades. And for many DMOs, they're still deriving the vast bulk of their advertising revenue through print advertising. In fact, we heard here in Canada, in Ontario, print is still a key driver in many of their campaigns. So, understanding the role and relevance in 2017 is critical. We estimate over $100 million in advertising is still being gathered from industry participants who are working as part of official visitor guides and vacation guides around the US alone. And that allows engagement with, we estimate, over 100,000 businesses. This is across, of course, the 900 DMOs that there are across the United States. And globally, of course, the numbers are much, much bigger. So there's a lot of money being interacted in terms of the industry. And for many of the businesses and members of CVBs and others, this is one of the most meaningful and direct ways that they see deriving value. But of course, there's a question mark on what that value is. So we want to explore that today. So let's talk about the three stories that are being discussed with regards to print advertising, print publications, and their role in travel and tourism planning. First story is that print is in long-term and serious decline. So usage numbers are down, and they're continuing to decline. The second story that's being talked about is that print is primarily used by older travelers. So I'm talking obviously here about US, but again, this could be Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Europe, any part of the world. And the third story, of course, driven off these first two, is that print is no longer really a critical part of an advertising and media plan and program. And in fact, publications themselves are under question and review by many DMOs. So without fear or favor, I want to have a look at what do the numbers say. And I should stress, we do not do our own research. We believe it's critical to have independent, objective research, particularly looking at critical issues like this. And so we work with a number of key vendors in this room. And so in particular, I've been fortunate enough to work with destination analysts, and Aaron and Dave and David are here, and also Longwoods International, and Bill's right down here, in terms of pulling some of the custom numbers that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So I'm sure it's hopefully going to provoke some debate and review and discussion, and we would welcome that. And obviously you can also reach out to those key people. I've also pulled in other research that I'll be talking about from the likes of Expedia, Magazine Publishers Association, and so on. So let's explore that first story. Print is in long-term and serious decline. So if we have a look at numbers from the State of the American Traveler, and they've been looking at media usage behavior with US travelers over the last 10 years, we can see in terms of digital resources, there's been a dramatic and consistent increase of usage over, this is an 8-year period. And you can see some quite startling rises. And of course, the interaction between smartphones and, for example, the rise of social media, which of course is empowering word of mouth. So this is another way for people to reach out and engage with friends and family and get their advice, which has always been part of the key engine room of what drives travel and tourism. Interestingly enough, a lot of that social media interaction, of course, is engaging with friends and family. A much smaller percentage is engaging with, for example, DMOs through social media. So, first pop quiz. I'm going to pull up in a moment here the long-term trend data for print in travel planning in the US for leisure travelers. So show of hands, who thinks this graph is going to show a decline? One person over there. Thanks. Is that Case over there, mate? Okay. Who thinks it's going to be broadly flat? Okay. Then the rest of you are on to something. So this is a sample size of about 2,000, and it's now conducted quarterly, and you can see consistently over this 8 years, after an initial drop, print has shown consistent strength and even growth. So this is all print resources, magazines, and official sources such as visitor guides and vacation guides. And in fact, in late 2016, it really reached a record level in terms of at least this survey and study. So we characterize this explosion of both digital and print using a term we've coined called the hyper-informed traveller. Never before in the history of travel and tourism have people accessed so much information from so many sources, both online and offline. And even in the last 2 years, you can see consistent growth across all the various media types is a characteristic of this hyper-informed traveller. So there's an enormously complex, fragmented path to purchase. And understanding that and delivering your message and your key unique value proposition through that incredibly cluttered landscape is arguably the number one challenge for any travel and tourism organisation. And certainly you obviously need to have a very sophisticated multimedia strategy where you can move money around and adapt and reformat content for the different device types, channels, and media. So if we look at official DMO sources, Destination Marketing Organisation sources, you can see over the 8 years, DMO visitor guides have been in that sort of 12 to 22% consistently, and in recent quarters, much more towards the 20% range. And official destination website usage appears never to have been stronger. So in one of the latest State of the American Travelers, it topped out at 43% in terms of 43% of US leisure travelers indicated they had used an official DMO website in their trip planning in the previous 12 months. And this is despite some of the challenges in organic search with Google curating content and displaying destination and travel information. So that's the first story. Let's have a look at the second one. So sure, print may be up. It may show consistent growth, but very few leisure travelers under the age of 35 or 40 are likely to be using it. So let's explore that. And we worked with Longwoods Travel. Their big study, Longwoods Travel USA, I think the sample size for this particular print profile is over 9,000, and this is from 2016. So the traditional image of print users is this: baby boomers, people who have grown up, of course, using print, and still it's their go-to resource. But in actual fact, from the Longwoods data, the profile of print users is more like this. So it's sort of 30s, heavily skewed towards an audience that is younger. So yes, older Americans definitely still use print, but so do younger Americans. And you can see the average age there is 37. They're more likely to be in a long-term relationship, affluent, well-educated, come from the major metro cities. One of the surprises from this particular data set is they're actually skewed male, which of course is a little bit of an exception to what we traditionally think of in terms of travel planners and bookers. So some fascinating insights there in terms of engagement. So let's look at that third story. So print advertising is no longer a critical part of your advertising and media planning and proposition. So the first issue is this clutter complexity and fragmentation of the media landscape. And the second pop quiz I have for you today is the number of website visits the typical US, Canadian, and UK traveller does before booking. So how many individual website visits, it could be to the same site, does a typical traveller complete before they make the major booking decisions in terms of flight, accommodation, etc.? 42. 40. 28. The latest, and this is from Expedia's Path to Purchase. So, Canadians, you're the world champions at visiting websites. And this, of course, is all sorts of websites, from online travel agencies to airlines to weather sites, visiting social media to interact with travel-related content. So, again, this plays into this theme of the hyper-informed traveller. We are seeing an enormously complex, deep, and fragmented path to purchase in terms of the number of websites and content that they're interacting with. Comparatively, the latest information and research from the magazine Publishers Association, the average US consumer interacts with only about 10 individual editions and publications from a print side every month. So obviously, cut-through is potentially one of the benefits that print offers. And playing into that is this concept of trust. So a lot of research, this is a major study from Marketing Sherpa, indicates that people still have a higher level of trust when it comes to print advertising in terms of authenticity, credibility, and accuracy of information. So we've obviously got a broad landscape where there's some positives from a DMO-specific perspective in terms of visitor guides. DMA West facilitated a major study. Destination analysts were also involved in this. They worked with 11 individual CVBs and looked at what role the official visitor guides played in driving actual visitation to the destination and what decisions were shaped by that guide. And we've seen this across individual readership studies that we've undertaken with a number of research companies that pretty consistently, almost without exception over the last 10 years, official visitor guides play a very positive role in terms of shaping the decision to visit the destination. It appears that by the time people order a visitor guide or pick a visitor guide up, they're pretty far down the purchase decision-making process in terms of deciding to go. But they also indicate those people who are undecided that it's an influential piece in terms of that decision, and that specific decisions are driven by that. And you can see the sweet spot for CVBs and DMOs is in that things to do. A much weaker sort of profile in terms of their influence over places to stay, but particularly things to do, activities and attractions, and also importantly, dining, restaurants, critical industry partnership. And in fact, research consistently shows that dining, food and beverage options is a key driver on decisions on where to travel. So engaging with your industry in terms of dining is critically important. And of course, events. Events can really be a critical driver in terms of, particularly for people who've already visited a destination, encouraging them to come back. So, we've had a look at 3 myths and identified that print usage remains strong and robust, that a broad cross-section of at least US leisure travellers are using print, and importantly, younger groups, and that print advertising still can offer both cut-through, trust, and veracity. But there's some big questions, and this is an area where there's a lot of question marks. And I actually reached out to Marian to discuss academic research that had been done in this space. And she came back and said that really there's not a lot of current research in the whole print sphere. So I would like to challenge both academics and practitioners to identify ways in which we can better understand this and the role and relevance of print. And I'll talk about 3 specific areas that I think are question marks. One is where and how is print being used in the decision-making process? So there's a general sense that it's moving up funnel towards aspiration, motivation, and inspiration, but we need to better understand that. Very importantly, how is print used with digital in this sort of complex digital landscape? How are people integrating, thinking about, and coordinating both print and digital channels? And then perhaps most importantly, how do we develop some new structures and more consistent and timely information around print performance in a landscape where digital is offering ever better and improving personalization, targeting, and reporting in terms of results? So we've got some work to do. And just to finish off, the importance of this sort of integrated model you can see is critical. We need to serve the hyper-informed traveller wherever and however they want the information to be delivered, and clearly print is still part of that mix, but we're doing a terrible job at monetizing our digital assets still. So just a quick example of that, across our 40 plus, I just pulled 40 of our DMO clients for this. On average, a DMO website is reaching over 500,000 unique website visitors on an annual basis outside of their immediate market, whether it be a city or a state. And you can see comparatively those same 40 DMOs have only around 1/10 active or estimated readers in terms of people who have ordered a visitor guide and had it mailed to them from outside of their city or state. So we've got 10 times the reach. We also know from studies like DMA West's 13 CVB website conversion study that the website is also very influential in shaping the decision and shaping decisions and booking patterns within the destination. So we've got a highly qualified audience, we've got a big audience, but we are doing a poor job of monetizing it. And I think this is an industry-wide issue. So, for example, the average website across our DMO group is earning substantially less than $100,000 in advertising and sponsorship revenue, yet visitor guides are still generating over $200,000. So 10 times the audience size, less than half the advertising. And this is a challenge faced by many media entities in many industries, but here in travel and tourism, I'm hoping we can be an innovator and leader in this space. So that's the truth and the myth and the stories about print. I invite you to think about how you can add to this perspective and insights in terms of moving the industry forward. I did pull together a white paper called The Value of Print, so I'll have some copies down the back after the break, and that distills a lot of that research. I also just wanted to highlight we had a discussion yesterday about international travel research. We've just updated our Global Smart, which is a distillation of international travel research from US Travel, NTTO, and Brand USA, and puts it into a simple sort of explanatory document for industry partners. And also visit our website for blogs and webinars, and I've just written this blog on the whole sort of phenomenon of over-tourism, growth, congestion, and challenges being faced in key markets all over the world, and it's one of the topical issues of our time. So thanks again. Look forward to engaging with you for the rest of the conference.
Well, I've been asked to get back up again to thank the morning speakers. Chris, I learned a lot. I've been printified, I've been brain juiced thanks to Alex, and gamified thanks to Lisa. And I'm here to ask all of you to show with your hands the appreciation for the learning that we've all had this morning. It was great, folks, and now I'd like to hand this over to Wendy. Wendy.